So it's so good to be here again with you this week. I know it's the holidays, and we have a lot going on during the holidays. This this last week I had a guest at my house. One of our good friends left town, and so we had to take care of this pug, and it wasn't a potty trained dog, and so it created a little bit of stress at our house of making sure that the dog was always let out on time. It seems pretty simple. But many of us, during the holidays, we're traveling, kind of bouncing here and there, and we're seeing family, and so a lot of things come up. And so, cut yourself cut yourself a little slack, during the holidays. It's good to give yourself some alone time, some free time. So I'm going to start with a couple announcements here. Just a big thank you for the generous support for all those who offered support this last week. Of course, this satsang and my teachings, they're offered free, but it's very helpful when people support the sangha. That way it makes all the technology and the time that goes into this broadcast possible. So big thank you to Butch and Angelica and Brett, Myrna. Thank you so much, everyone. And of course, thank you to Suzanne, my support person. She's been so helpful this last year. I was so happy to have her in my life and helping to support this. And then, of course, she's supporting all of you as well. Okay, so a couple announcements here. I'm having a retreat January 18th through the 20th. There's still room available. It's in Carbondale, Colorado. It's a non-residential retreat. And so I encourage you to think about joining us, about taking the leap and joining us on retreat. There's really a lot of magic that happens on retreat. My teacher, David, he used to tell me that Craig, all the secret teachings come forward during retreat. And in a sense, he was joking with me a little bit, but the truth of it is, when you get to spend more time with your teacher, especially in the intimate environment of retreat, things come forward that don't always come out in an informal meeting. And when we start to spend some time together and the energy starts to build within the room, within the sangha, within our 7 chakra centers, a lot of power can come forward, and greater questions can come forward from us, greater experiences, and God blesses us more deeply and fully, often when we come together on retreat. And so again, I'm speaking to you. If you're at all thinking about it, please join us. And, of course, don't let money be an issue. If you need a scholarship, just ask for one. I'm happy to support individuals, if they don't have the full price. I never want that to be an issue. So I do hope to sincerely see you there. It'll be a small winter retreat, and there'll be a lot of time for intimate interaction. And so I encourage you. Okay. So, with New Year's coming up, New Year's is this time when we reflect on our life. How has the last year been for you? I encourage you to look at that question and to sit with it for a moment. How has this last year been? How has it been? Has it been a wonderful year where you've made great strides? And if so, I'll tell you, keep up the good work. Has it been a year of intense challenge or heartache? Or has it been a year of hanging out in, what I call the mundane? We're not really awake, kind of asleep, just on autopilot. Where are we at in our life? When I was quite young, my teacher, he had this incredible library of spiritual books. It was hard to find spiritual books back when I was just starting the path, especially in the little town where I lived. And, Amazon wasn't a thing that you could just hop on and order a book. And, there wasn't a YouTube. And so, oftentimes I'd walk into his little library. My teacher would see me kind of, kind of looking through the books, the titles and this and that. And he'd always reach onto the bookshelf and pick out, some incredible, a story of some incredible yogi for me. And it was so nice that he would hand select these books. And I would read about the stories of enlightenment, the stories of these great saints on the path. Of course, they didn't start off as great saints, they were normally a young man or woman in India. Oftentimes they had, really tough lives, like they grew up in dirt poor poverty. I mean, poverty that we probably couldn't even imagine. If I think of Vivekananda, he had diabetes, back before, they had insulin shots. And grew up poor, just running around, in a small village. And when he first heard the truth, he jumped in fully. He gave himself to it fully. And these stories, they always greatly inspired me. How these young aspirants on the path would spend 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 hours a day in meditation. They'd travel across long distances to go and meet their guru. And oftentimes they would meet the guru and fall in love and just, move into the ashram immediately. Then after many years of intense and austere practice, overcoming great difficulties, they'd wake up to, the incredible truth of what they are. And I've read hundreds of these stories, mostly Indian masters, but then of course, I went through many of the Christian mystics, Saint Francis and Padre Pio, were some of my favorites. There's 2 Saint Teresas that I loved reading. Both of them had really unique lives. And I just aspired. I said, I'm going to be like them. I'm going to follow in their footsteps. And so whenever my teacher offered a retreat, I was the first to sign up. When he offered, satsang, which was twice a week, and we'd meet for 3 or sometimes 3.5 hours, I would be the first one there. When he said I needed a temple built, I said, yes, let's do it. I went home and got my tools and, got everything ready, put my work gloves on and went to work. And so with New Year's coming, New Year's is a time for all of us to see. We have a choice. What kind of life do you want to live? My teacher would ask this to me often. He'd say, Craig, what kind of guy are you? What kind of man are you? I'd say, a child of God, a warrior. He'd say, that's right. That's right. And so he was always encouraging me to jump more deeply full onto this path, to say yes to God, yes to truth. It's one of the great things about having a teacher who's supportive. They're like a cheerleader, a good coach, they'll see that you're in despair and they'll tell you, hey, why don't you come? Why don't you come see me? Why don't we meditate a little bit more? Let me help you to let go or to see clearly. And so I just made my life about the path. And so New Year's was always a funny thing for me. I knew what I was going to do when New Year's came around. It was winter time, so I had a little bit more free time. So I was going to meditate more. I was going to study the Dharma, study more deeply, more fully, meditate more, do more yoga, go inward. And so I invite you to join me in this intention, to give yourself more fully to the path. And sometimes, for some of us, giving ourselves more fully to the path doesn't necessarily mean more meditation. Maybe it means I'm going to be more kind to myself. I'm going to be more kind to my teenage son or daughter. I'm going to put myself in their shoes. I'm going to play more with my children. I'm going to be kinder to my husband, or this little pug, that's that we're caretaking. That was me this week. This little pug was, he would just, she would just whine and cry. And it was like, she was a puppy. She wasn't potty trained. And this was the first time she had left her home. And, the family went out of town, and to be honest, the dog was just driving us all nuts because she would just stay up all night whining. And so we weren't sleeping, and, it wouldn't go potty outside. And we got a little bit of snow here this week in Colorado. And so I'd take it outside. It wouldn't go potty. And then, the dog would just drive me crazy. I was like, what's wrong with you, dog? And so when I made a pact and I said, I'm going to be really kind, I'm going to be really kind to this dog. I'm going to take her on 10 walks a day and just love her up and see if we can potty train her, because the owner had obviously not potty trained him. And so, we made it a priority to love this dog to the best of our ability, even though it's driving us nuts. And so for those of you who have been spending more time with family the last couple of weeks, can we make compassion a priority? Kindness a priority? And not just for this, this 1 or 2 weeks of the new year. Can we intend to do this for our life? For our life, let's start with 2019. Can we make 2019 the fullest, most inclusive, most loving year we've lived? What would that mean for you? Does it mean going on more retreats? Does it mean spending more time in silence? Does it mean more time in meditation or yoga? Does it mean more quiet walks, or the willingness to tell that internal judge or critic, hey, I've had enough. I've had enough with the criticism. Can we simply love ourselves? Can we look in the mirror and see how beautiful you are? Can you do that in 2019? It breaks my heart every time I ask someone to look in the mirror and to see their beauty. They really struggle with it, that it's hard or difficult for them. They're busy judging themselves, saying, oh yeah, if I was just 18 again and 20 pounds lighter, or taller or shorter or bigger or smaller or richer or whatever it is. In 2019, can we let go of that and fall in love with ourselves? Fall in love with our beauty. In 2019, can we open our hearts more deeply and fully to God's grace? to developing a relationship with God. And I don't just mean a relationship with vast, spacious emptiness. I mean a relationship with a personal God who made you, who created you, who loves you fully. Can you give yourself permission to deepen in this relationship, to let go of this sense of it's me against the world? That's what the ego is. The ego is simply a movement of me against the world, me against you, me against life, me against my boss, or me trying to fix everyone and everything around me. Can we let go of that and open our hearts and let God do the fixing? Let God open our hearts to something more incredible, more divine than we've ever known is possible. And so, yes, let 2019 be the year you jump fully in. The deep end. Many people do spirituality like they're getting into a cold pool. They walk up to the edge of the pool, they put their big toe in, and they're like, oh boy, that's cold. I don't know about getting in there. Maybe I'll just go in a little bit at a time, and that will somehow make it better. I'm the kind of guy who I just like to go and jump in the deep end, and see what happens. See what happens. Can you jump in the deep end and see what happens? See what happens. It's funny. So many people, they think that to surrender to God is something terrifying. You have to remember, you're surrendering to all the beauty, the compassion, the love, the intelligence, the peace, the silence. How about this one? The wealth of the universe. The wealth, the abundance, the glory. What you think you're surrendering, it's like paying $1 and getting the whole universe. It's literally like paying $1 and receiving the universe in return. Surrender is like winning the lottery. It's such a gift. It's such a grace. And so I encourage you in 2019, if you have not had this experience yet, then try. Open your heart and let go. And if you have any question about surrender, I encourage you just to give yourself permission to energetically fall on your knees, open your heart to God and say, Lord, you're the boss. Show me the way. Lead me, guide me, help me out. I say, throw me a bone here. Help a brother out, help a sister out, Lord. Show us the way. Show us the way. And so beautiful. And so, I encourage you, your New Year's resolution, it doesn't have to be about, eating better and losing weight or quitting smoking or whatever it is, or addiction is, watching less TV. That's great to have those. That's excellent. But take it a step further. Take it a step further. My teacher, he told me this funny story. So my teacher's name was David. And his teacher was this great saint. Her name was Hilda Charlton. She lived in India for, about 17 years. She lived there back before even Ram Dass went to India. She was one of the real first Westerners to kind of explore around in India, meet with the great masters. And so my teacher, he grew up Jewish, and so he didn't know about what Lent was. And so when he was with Hilda and all the students got together and they were speaking about Lent, and everyone was talking about what they were going to give up for Lent. And my teacher said, "Oh, geez," my teacher David, he said to Hilda, "Well, I guess maybe I'll give up like candy and chocolate, and she looked at him and said, "David, why don't you give up your big fat ego?" And he said, "Oh yeah, that's a better idea. That's a better idea. Why don't I give that up, for Lent, because that's something that we could all work with, this coming new year. How about we give up our big fat egos?" And by that, I mean the places within us where we fight with life, the places where we are habitually mean or habitually closed. So often on the path, we just kind of walk through life on autopilot. We're not awake to the absolute beauty that's here. We're not awake to it. And see, God is inviting us eternally to wake up. Wake up to what's here. My wife and I we were out walking in the snow today, and she was pulling my little girl in the sled and walking up this hill. Just doing a little walk in the neighborhood. And I looked over at the trees and I saw, the wind would come and just blow, and the trees are covered in snow here in Colorado right now. And as the little breeze would touch one of these big pine trees, it would just let go of this burst of snow, like empty off the branches. And then there would be like 10,000 little ice crystals floating through the air. And it would just take my breath away when I saw this. Just the absolute beauty. The wind blowing through the trees. And just snow dancing in the sunlight. Just dancing in the sunlight as the wind blew it along through the forest. It was absolutely divine. Simply to look up and to see the blueness of the sky, to hear the sound of the birds, to feel the hugeness of the sky. Can we allow this natural world, which is everywhere, even if you live in a big city, to allow the hugeness of the sky to wake you up? I can remember many years ago when I was 19 or so, I went to visit my aunt in Chicago. And I was standing outside of the city, like, in some big park, like on the edge of whatever that lake is. Maybe it's Lake Michigan. I can't even remember. And just looking at the night, the skyline of the skyscrapers and the orange sky. It's like kind of like black and orange at nighttime when you're in a big city. The city kind of glows. And just feeling the absolute divinity of the buildings, the sky fully embracing the skyscrapers. Absolutely divine. And so the willingness to see the beauty, to feel the spaciousness that's here. The truth is ever present. The invitation is always here. Wake up to the beauty that's all around you. Look in the mirror and see the beauty looking back at you. Looking back at you. And so anyways, if anyone has a question, I encourage you to bring it forward. It's pretty light on questions this week, I think, because a lot of people are traveling. Normally I'm so overwhelmed with questions. I can't get to them all. And so, if you have something, you're welcome to type it in, or if you're meeting with me on Zoom, ask for the mic and just let me know. I'd be happy to have a question. One of the questions that did come forward was from a friend who's in England, and she's struggling with hypersensitivity. And so sometimes on the path, when we're starting to wake up, or if we've had a lot of trauma in our life, or both, our nervous system can become hypersensitive. And we can, in a real sense, just be on edge. So the beauty of hypersensitivity is hypersensitivity helps you to be awake to everything. To be awake to the beautiful colors, to be awake to the sound of the bird, to be awake to pain that's in your body. But just like anything within our human consciousness, our human consciousness can become irritated. And when it does, the whole nervous system gets all wound up, and it feels or acts like it's on edge. Like everything is stuck in a state of fight or flight. Basically, one of the definitions of ego that I like is just having a nervous system that is overstimulated. When the ego's not overstimulated, it's actually just really quiet. It's just hanging out in the background. Just hanging out in the background. Someone else I was listening to, what's his name? Dan Harris. He's he's a news anchor, and he's created a website and wrote a book called 10% Happier. And he interviews all these meditation teachers, mostly mindfulness, like Buddhist teachers. And he was speaking about that one of the reasons human beings they're so worked up or so stressed out and often so stuck in the fight or flight response is because he was saying that we've evolved out of being a nervous ape, like a nervous monkey. And what we've evolved is very strong, very powerful prefrontal cortex, whose, basic job is, one of the basic jobs in the prefrontal cortex is to look for problems, to scan the environment for threats, to be looking around. Is anyone or anything coming to get me? And when we have hypersensitivity, when we're stuck in ego, when we haven't slept that night, when we've had a tough day or month or year, we stop seeing clearly. And the prefrontal cortex starts to really kick in, and it just sees everything as a threat. I'm sure all of you have had this experience that when you've been overstimulated, and maybe there's, a lot of people talking, inside there might be this need, this desire just to tell everyone to shut up. Shut up, quiet, stop it. Like I can't have any more stimulus. And so when we're up here, in our prefrontal cortex, we respond to life, from this fight or flight place. We respond in a way where we are just, it's like we're at war. And we can't handle any more input. But see, this path is about doing the opposite. It's about stepping back into the peace And if you notice the space of awareness, if you notice it right now, right here, right now. So if you allow awareness, instead of looking out, just to turn inward, turning awareness upon itself, you'll notice that awareness is absolutely silent, absolutely at ease. Awareness is not commenting, it's not judging, it's not fighting, it's not struggling. Awareness is peaceful. It's literally the space of peace. And so if we find ourselves worked up or hypersensitive or struggling with too many thoughts, too many emotions, too many reactions, our body is telling us we have too much energy, too much time, too much attention up here on the, right up here in the forefront of our consciousness. And we need to step back. And we need to step back into the peace, into the quietude that's here. And I don't care if you live in a big, noisy city. All of us live in peace. We walk around in peace. Peace is here. Peace is the very space out of which noise, out of which sound, out of which my voice arises. And so the other night, when I had this little pug at my house, and she was just whining and whining at 12 midnight, at 2 in the morning. There was this absolute peace that's here. And out of the peace was the sound of the pug. Whining. If you stay with the peace, you can get up in the middle of the night and ask the dog, do you need to go out, sweetie? Is there something wrong? Can I get you something? Can I pet you a little bit? Can I get you some water? But if you're not connected to the peace, you argue with the sounds. Your nature is peace, literally. Literally. It's always at peace. There's this quiet presence here that is eternally witnessing life. If you step back far enough into this silent witness, you will find that this witness is silent, is peaceful, is spacious, is compassionate, and is indestructible. If you step forward, though, into your mind, you'll find someone who's judgmental, hypersensitive, nervous, neurotic, scared, judging, critical, angry, lost, confused. So the more you identify with your thinking mind, the further you will be from the truth. The more you just step back into this quiet presence, the very presence which is hearing the sound of my voice right now, the more you will experience freedom, peace, and love. The spiritual path is not complicated. Now, humans, we've done a good job of making it complicated, but it's not complicated. And so, yes, so if anyone has a question, let me see here. Yes, and I would just like to say hello to everyone. Hello, Neil and Lisa and Dawn and Shauna, Rayla. And who's this here at the bottom here? Is it Imani? Yeah, hello. So I just want to say hello to everyone. Hello, Patricia and Angelica. Ivy, Nicole, Rhonda. It's good to see you all. Good to see you all. And so Suzanne writes, Craig, how much time each day doing yoga and doing meditation do you recommend at a minimum? It's a great question. I can remember I was on retreat with someone. I don't even know exactly who it was. And one of the students asked the teacher this, and he said, as much as you possibly can. As much as you possibly can. So I recommend an hour a day, 45 minutes to an hour a day. And so it's nice if you can do 30 minutes of yoga and, an hour of meditation. I call that a good, solid spiritual practice. When I was young, I used to sit for 3 hours a day, every single day. Did that for years. But I've been pretty consistent with an, hour plus a day of what I call spiritual practice. And so whether that's yoga or meditation or both, it's kind of like every night we can watch 2 or 3 hours of Netflix. We could watch some Hulu. We could hang out for a couple hours with quote unquote The Walking Dead with our good friend Jerry Seinfeld and George Costanza. We can hang out with whatever kind of shows people watch, those crime shows with someone getting murdered. I can never watch those shows. I always get freaked out by those shows. We can spend a couple hours, with our friend, the TV. Or we could easily spend, a half hour doing some yoga, an hour meditation, reading some spiritual books. The choice is up to you. The same thing with the morning. I like to meditate as soon as I get up in the morning and just say yes. Just right away. You set the intention that my life is about God. My life is about truth. First thing out of bed. Get up, whatever. Go potty, wash your face, and sit on the cushion. Sit and open your heart. So everyone gets excited about New Year's, making their resolutions. But with a morning meditation practice, it's every morning you get up and you say, God, will you lead me? Will you teach through me? Will you act through me? Will you speak through me? Will you love through me? Will you help me not be a jackass or angry? Will you help me not, to create trouble and pain and suffering in others' lives? Will you help me to love myself more? Love those around me more. And so we start each day with this intention. Lord, bless me with the highest truth. Use me as a conduit of your highest grace. Bless me with peace, with love, with light. And so we start with this prayer-like attitude in the morning and sit. They say, all these people have these studies about, how to create a new habit. 3 days. If you meditate 3 days in a row, pretty soon it just becomes a habit. And for those of you who are sleepy and who struggle with, this question of, I don't really feel anything when I meditate. I just sit there and listen to my mind think. I encourage you to get up and do some yoga. Run your body, exercise a little bit, go for a walk out in the freezing cold. Wake your body up, work up a quick sweat, use the body vigorously for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And then go sit down and feel into your heart, feel into your belly, feel into your solar plexus, feel into the space of the third eye. When we exercise and we run a lot of oxygen through the body, it invigorates our prana. And so I encourage you to get some prana flowing. And so when your meditation teacher says, come into your heart, you feel this radiance, this aliveness, this beauty, this divinity. And so if you come into your heart and you feel nothing, you just feel deadness, and your mind is really busy, do get up and do 2 or 3 sun salutations. Get into your body, wake up the 7 chakra centers, and then sit down and meditate. And what you'll find is it's so much easier to meditate when the prana is flowing, because you have a point of reference inside. You're noticing, oh, my heart, it feels radiant, it feels alive, it feels luminous. It feels luminous. So if you're sitting down and you're just having lots and lots of thoughts, please get up and go for a run. Do some yoga. Get into your body. Get out of your head. Wake up your subtle energetic body. It's one of the great things my teacher did. He taught me it's all about your direct experience. So first and foremost, how do you meditate? You feel in the body. You feel what's there. You feel what's there. And so, let's see. Is there any other questions here? Craig, could you type out your teacher's name? Yeah, I'll just say it right now. It's Hilda, yes, Hilda, Charlton, Charlton. So that was actually my teacher's teacher, and she was this amazing being. And she taught in New York City, and she taught in California as well. But when she was teaching in New York, she taught at St. John the Divine, and on her classes, my teacher David would tell me 600 people would come. The church would be so full, people would be standing all the way in the back. So it'd be a full house because she was such an incredible being and such an incredible healer. And then my teacher David, I often don't share his last name because he doesn't like to be so much in the public eye. He's only interested in people who are deeply serious, about his teachings. And so I always just respected that as he's kind of a private guy, didn't have a big website and online presence and all that kind of stuff. So it was actually really wonderful because when I was with him, I could have his full attention. And there wasn't, 800 people around him. He kept things very, very small, very intimate. And you can learn a lot from a great master. Learn a lot from them when you have their time and attention. But when we don't, when we just go and visit our teacher and there's 400 other people there, maybe we get one question answered, maybe not. And so it's funny to me, like when I go see someone like Adyashanti and there's 400 people there, it's like, good luck if you raise your hand. I was always really persistent, found a way to get his attention, but still, I like it when you don't have to work so much. I'm a big fan of, a teacher knowing the students, knowing them intimately, kind of that old school tradition. And so, yes, in response to the question, it's Hilda Charlton, Charlton. And so she was, yes, an incredible, incredible being. Anywhere she went, the teacher would ask her to be a part of the lineage. So she knew Yogananda and Nityananda, and she lived at Swami Sai Baba's ashram for a long time, and he would ask her to teach, often when he wasn't feeling like teaching. And it It's like countless masters, she would visit with throughout India. And then, when people started coming to the West, they would come and they would teach through her. Like she had like the teaching community. So anytime teachers from India would come, they'd stop first in New York City, and Hilda would introduce them and bring them forward, or they'd teach together. So it's really beautiful that she was so deeply connected, and so deeply respected. I have the highest respect for her, for all my teachers, the highest respect. And so anyways, I thought that maybe we would join them in this moment. And so I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and open your hearts. And so I'll call upon Hilda. Hilda, will you come here and bless us? Hilda Ji, Lazuma, will you come and open our hearts more deeply, more fully? Will you guide us on the path? Nityananda Ji, will you come into our hearts? Will you show us the way? Will you bring us into the highest bliss, the highest love? Amma, will you fill us with most pristine grace? Help us to wake up our subtle energetic body to your truth, to your transmission, to your love. Ramanaji, will you show us the ultimate experience of the self? Will you lead us forward? And so we call the Satgurus into our life, helping us to wake up more deeply, more fully, to show us new realms of existence and being. And so with this prayer, with this intention of just opening our hearts to the ascended masters, I invite you to feel your heart, to feel the light, to feel the love, the quiet radiance in your heart. To breathe deeply and fully, to relax the throat chakra, the jaw, the neck, the shoulders, and give yourself permission to invite this grace from above down into your body, to wake you up from the inside out. And so we're taking deep, full belly breaths, calling upon the Most High, calling upon Kuan Yin, the 10,000 Buddhas, the Divine Mother, our angels, and simply saying yes, yes to the beauty that's here, yes to the highest grace. And so we're taking deep, full belly breaths, breathing into our heart, relaxing the solar plexus, relaxing the hara, the pelvis, the legs, the feet, the arms, the hands. Saint Hilda Ji, will you show me that which is greater? Nityananda Ji, will you show me the highest bliss? Will you open me more fully to the highest experience, fullest experience of bliss, of Satchitananda, the Deep, full belly breaths, allowing the mind to be empty. And there's no reason to think too hard about it. We're simply giving ourselves permission to open, to experience greater levels of divinity. Skandaji, shake us out of our mundane human world and open us into the land of Jyoti, into the land of light. Open us to our heavenly abode. So we're saying Jai Skanda, Jai Hildaji, Jai Nityananda, Jai Yogi Ram, Jai Mother, calling upon the forces of light to guide us, to awaken us more fully and more deeply. Your job is simply to be humble, to be open, to be receptive to that which is holy. And these great saints are inviting you to call upon them, to surrender to their love more fully. Love is here. Support is here. If your life has been hard this last year, give yourself permission to forgive yourself for being human. And give yourself permission to open more fully to support, more fully to love, to light, to these incredible saints. Let yourself be blessed. So you're relaxing the entire subtle energetic body and just noticing what you feel when you say, yes, I will receive the highest grace from Nityanandaji, Satguru, Maharaj. I will receive the highest grace from Hildaji, Mazuma, warrior of light. I'll open my heart to the Divine Mother and say, Mother, you lead me. You show me the way forward. I get lost and confused in this world. Sometimes I get stuck in my ego. Sometimes I fall on my face, or I get angry, or I'm mean. Father, give me the strength. Open my heart. Flood me with light, with love, with bliss, with the highest expression of Satchidananda. And so, yes, we're taking deep, full belly breaths. And we're giving ourselves permission to receive that which is holy, that which is divine. Calling the great masters into our hearts, into our minds. Make me a conduit of thy grace, Lord. And so I encourage you to feel the holiness of your heart, the quiet, spacious, radiant presence of your mind, this profound innocence and freedom which you are. I encourage you to feel deep in your belly and feel this warrior strength and indestructibility. So we're taking deep, full belly breaths, letting our body be absolutely infused with the highest light, the highest love, giving your mind full permission to go blank, to be absolutely blank. And so we're just breathing in, breathing out, and going absolutely blank. And in this blankness, receiving the highest love, receiving the highest grace, receiving this light, this love, this beauty. How wonderful it is. And so if you like, you can open your eyes and you can just look around. Just notice what it's like to see the world as divine, to see the world as beautiful. And Angelica here has one last question before we're done this evening. So I encourage you to stay with your experience, to stay with it. So Angelica writes, Craig, could you talk about how to marry the Tao of leaving things be, not acting upon what happens, and of course responding with compassionate action? Yes, and so this is what I'm speaking about, Angelica, to be holy. When we're holy, we're connected with the vast, spacious emptiness, with the innate perfection of life. We experience this as a given, and so I encourage you all to stay with this experience directly. When we rest in meditation, we rest in spaciousness and emptiness and freedom. And yet simultaneously, when we see pain in the world, when we see suffering in the world, the suffering is begging you for a response. It's not begging your ego for a response, but rather begging your heart for a response. When a child cries in the night, the mother doesn't think about responding. She just gets up from this space of peace and meets the child with love. And so if you feel into your experience right now, this experience of receptive holiness, where you feel your body alive, you feel the prana flowing through you, you notice it has a quiet intelligence to it, Angelica. You allow this intelligence to move through you. When it moves through you, you don't move from a place of tension. You don't move from a place of ego. You're not moving from a place of having an agenda. You're moving from a place, from a space of love, of quiet, spacious, intelligent love. This is the truth of the Tao. Non-doing and doing are one. Are one. Non-doing is pregnant with love. And so when you connect with this love, love doesn't just sit there. It's kind. It doesn't harm others. It's kind to all beings. It's kind to animals. It's kind to plants. It's kind to our brothers and sisters. It's kind to the planet. And so this is a very high dharma. If you think too much about it, it will come out from some place of do-goodingness. But the dharma that I'm speaking about is you sit in silence. You open to the radiance that you are. You call upon the great masters. You call upon love, upon light, upon truth, upon innocence, upon freedom. You allow it to move through you as you. When a saint moves, they are acting, but they are acting from peace, from this quiet, innocent, spacious love. It's a beautiful question. So I don't want to keep anyone too long. I want to thank everyone for having you. Yes, and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining me. And thank you for supporting the Sangha. Of course, you can offer a donation at my website, just craigholliday.com. Those are deeply appreciated. It helps others get in touch with these teachings and these dharma. It supports me. It supports the community and this work we're doing together. And once again, I'm going to invite you all personally to join us in January at our upcoming retreat. There's details on my website. God bless you all. And I encourage you to call upon the great masters this new year. Call upon them. Invite them into your life. Call upon your angels. Call upon the Divine Mother. Call upon that which is higher. They want nothing more than to love you and flood your being with grace. So peace be with you all. Thank you all so much. Good night. Good day.